Hi everyone. Today I'm going to be demonstrating a music composition in this music composition live demo workshop. Basically, I'll be using MuseScore to sort of demonstrate how I would be creating a song or piece on the spot. So MuseScore is this sort of app or software that you can download on your computer so that when you can type in keyboard keys like A, B, C, D all the way to G, you can then sort of display the notes on the screen. So if I type in A, I get an A note, and so on. So basically, MuseScore is pretty cool because you can then create any kind of composition with any kind of instrument just by using a computer. So here, the first thing to do is choose an instrument. So because I'm a piano player, I'm going to be choosing to compose in a piano sort of format. So if I go to Edit and Instruments, I can then see the piano. So here, usually the piano has treble clef and bass clef, so I'll be deleting this to get a new piano. But actually won't let me, so maybe I'll just press the keyboard first or the piano first, and then add to score, and then delete the other piano one. So here I have both treble clef and bass clef. Okay, so the next step is to sort of choose a key signature. I already have a time signature like right here for 4. Usually, if you want to start off creating your first music piece, I always start with the basics, so I'll be using 4/4. It's easier to count that way. To choose a key signature, if you go to this menu right here, you can choose anyone from these. To make it simple, I'll be using the G major. So if you don't have any good ideas off the top of your head, that's okay. I will stick with the basics like chords, arpeggios, and scales. So in this case, to establish a sort of theme, basically, before you compose something, you want to establish a theme. You want to basically form the notes and your choices of notes and format of the notes based on that theme. So themes can be things like really fiery and windy, or very like thunderstormy, or it could be just like really fast, or really really happy, really enthusiastic, or it can also be very like calm and peaceful. So for this one, I'm going to be using a calm and peaceful sort of theme. So in that case, I want to have maybe like a picture. So I'll be picturing a rainforest with light rain and rivers flowing. In that case, I want to have a very slow tempo, very long notes, and very flowing notes. So arpeggios are the best choice for that one. So maybe arpeggio in the left hand, and maybe something else in the right hand. Maybe I'll be doing like sort of scales and smaller chords in the right hand and arpeggios in the left hand. So because I'm in G major, I'll be using that normal G major arpeggio. So it will be, by the way, you can move notes down an octave by doing Control down arrow. And also because it's in 4/4, I'll be using the 16th notes to have that sort of arpeggio-like feeling. Oh. And then if you want to sort of repeat that phrase, but you don't want to type in all the notes again, what you can do is do click on the first note, hold the shift key, press the last note, Control C, and then Control V onto the next rest. And so on. In the right hand, I'm going to be using quarter notes to make things a little bit more simpler. Maybe I'll start right here and do G, maybe I'll do those. So basically, there are scales and common notes that are found in the G major scale. I'm just sort of typing them in and seeing how they sound. To kind of see how it sounds, you can click the first note and press the play button. One thing I noticed is that it's kind of fast for a flowing calm piece. You can change the tempo using the menu on the left. Maybe I'll be doing like 50 as the tempo. To make things have more variation, I'm going to be using eighth notes. Maybe I'll be doing G and then F sharp. And by the way, it automatically has F sharp as the sound right here because I'm in the sharp or the F sharp, which is the key signature for G major, it's automatically going to be F sharp. But if you want to have a natural F, you can press this and then press the down arrow, which is the natural F. To kind of undo that, you can just do Control Z. So next, I'm going to be continuing that melodic line. Let's see how it sounds from here. One thing is that you don't want to have too many repeating notes, chords, or arpeggios, or else it's going to sound too boring and repetitive. So I'll be changing that up by changing the left-hand chords, or the left-hand arpeggios. Because this is a F sharp, maybe I'll be doing F sharp right here. Here, because there's an E, I'm going to be using E right here too. Oops. Okay, let's see how it sounds from here. Okay, to make it sound less sort of choppy, I'm gonna be using the pedal, which basically makes the notes a little bit more flowing and smooth. So if I click this, and same for the other measures, hopefully it's gonna make a more flowing sound. Here, I actually feel like it's more natural to just keep going up, because here I'm ending it by going like that. It's sort of resolved, going back to that main G note, which basically sort of ends the phrase. I feel like it's a little bit short, so I'm going to be keeping going up the scale. Maybe instead of doing F sharp, I'll be doing the B. To change the length of the note, you can just press this note and then press the quarter note key. And I'm going to be keeping on to copying this phrase in the left hand. Oh, one thing I noticed is that here it has like an accidental symbol, which is supposed to not be there because it's automatically G major. But then I noticed that because here it doesn't have that sort of accidental, I'm going to be adding that to the left hand too. Huh, that's very interesting. Okay, there we go. Maybe it's a click and drag, like that. Okay. Now that sort of sharp key is gone, and it's still automatically an F sharp. As you can see, now I'm transitioning to sort of like a D major, and that's very common because the note D is 5 spaces up or 5 spaces apart from the G. Because D is that 5 apart from G, a lot of people in their pieces might be using sort of that a D major phrase in their G major piece. So I'll be doing that too right here. To establish that, I'm going to be turning these arpeggios to a D major arpeggio. Let's see how that phrase sounds. To make it sort of like an idyllic sort of sound, I'll be using that G major in the G major arpeggio in the bottom, corresponding to a D major F sharp, because then it sort of creates that that dreamy chord, which is that special sort of progression of chords is very sort of dreamy when you hear it, and that's what I'm going to be using in this phrase right here. Okay, I'll be deleting this using the delete key, and then use that G major arpeggio in the left hand. Okay, now I'm gonna hear it from the beginning. So basically, if you want to have like a natural sort of progression of lines or phrases in your piece, I will be hearing it, listening to it over and over again so that you can kind of decide what notes to use next. Here I'll be doing a sort of pause in the right hand and then continue the phrase again. Here, sometimes you want to have like a breather in your right hand, or left hand as well. Maybe I'll be doing to make the to change that that note's length. I would be doing this and then clicking the 8th note key to make it sort of halfway shorter. Because you can't click and drag notes, you have to, if you want to make that F go right here, you have to click it again or press that F key on your keyboard again and then delete that other F. So if I will be deleting this one. To move that E, I'll be doing the same thing, pressing the E on the keyboard and then deleting the other E. Okay, now what I'm gonna do is sort of making the entire piece more variated, which basically I'll be changing the length and sort of beats of the entire melodic phrase, because it's kind of boring to only have 8th notes and quarter notes like these one right here. So basically, to make this piece more interesting and less repetitive, I'll be doing that by listening to the entire piece. Here it sort of seems like there's a natural sort of way to just make this a little bit like that. So that's what I mean like by dotted rhythm. I'm changing the beat and the rhythm of the piece to establish more variation. It seems natural to do that right here because this one is like, it's like long, short, and going up. Usually I do that in pieces where if I have like 3 notes that are going up, the first 2 notes I'll be doing long, short, and then regular. Because it sort of seems like you're establishing that uptrend. You're like D, E, F, you're trying to aim for the F. Sort of like direction. You want to go up, and that's sort of like having that long note over the D sort of gives the entire uphill battle like an uphill push or something like that. Sort of like a push to go on to the F, which is F is like the peak, for example. So now let's hear it again from right here. I see that natural uphill again. So these 3 notes are going up. I'll be doing that dotted rhythm right here. I see that right here too. Even though this is like a eighth note, or no, yeah, this is like an eighth note, that's okay. You can still do a dotted rhythm over that too. It's just that this dotted rhythm is going to be a little bit shorter. Here it's like 1.5, or this is sort of like, this is actually the length of that note would be quarter plus eighth, so that would be 1/4 plus 1/8. It will be like 3/8, I believe. Yes, okay, and then this will be just 1/8, and this is 2/8 or 1/4. Here, the dotted rhythm, because I'm doing that dotted rhythm on an already eighth note, this one becomes 1/8 plus 1/16 as the length, and this one becomes a 16th note. Let's see how that one sounds. You know what? I might do a dotted rhythm right here too. Even though it's not going up right now, it's sort of like giving that extra push to pause, I think. So usually a lot of this these choices that you make as a composer, it's kind of arbitrary or random because it kind of depends on how you want, because little details are sort of like dictated by what kind of style that you want. And usually small pieces doesn't matter that much, but usually small changes, sometimes they can make a big difference, sometimes they don't. It depends. Every composer has a different style. Some composers don't really use dotted rhythm at all, but as a beginner, I would be kind of exploring with these different methods to see how your piece sounds. Here, if I press the dotted rhythm, it sort of forms that line. It's the same thing basically, except for that line sort of establishes that it's like a dotted rhythm, because if you have the line over two of the same notes, it's kind of like you don't play that twice, you play that once in piano. So it's kind of like sort of like having the dotted rhythm because you're basically extending that note to make it longer. And as you can see, that F before was a quarter note and now it's an eighth note. And that's why it's sort of like a dotted rhythm. I'm not sure why this time I did it here. Probably because it's crossing that boundary line of a measure. So each phrase right here, this is a measure, and this is also a measure. Maybe because if you want to do a dotted rhythm in between when you have notes that are crossing the boundary, that's why they're having that line over. Let's see how it sounds from right here. Because I have that E right here, it doesn't really make sense to keep on having that D right here, because if I want to have that more harmonic sort of sound, I'll be using the E as well. A cool thing you can do is doing triplets. So if you hover, or if you click on one of the rests, if you do Control 3 or Shift 3, very interesting. If I do, yeah, Control, so what I did was I was doing Control 3, and there you have a triplet. Triplets are kind of interesting because they have that sort of like that dancey ballet kind of feeling when you have triplet, because basically you're trying to spread that out over an equal distance that kind of equal that quarter note, which can also be 4 16th notes. It sort of makes the piece more variated. You have all these tools ahead of you. You have dotted notes, you have triplets, you have quarter notes, eighth notes. Those are basically choices that you can make as a composer to see, explore with how your piece might sound if you add them in. So here maybe I'll be doing, to make it easier, I'll be doing like that upwards chord, um, or upward scale kind of thing where I do like F sharp G A. Let's see how that one sounds. Because it's naturally going up, I'll be doing the B again. B is like the notes that's one part or one note above the A. So I'll be doing that B right there. Here maybe I'm gonna be going down, so maybe I'll be doing eighth notes and then A G. So here I'm sort of resolving because I'm going back to that main note G. And because I have this G right here, this sort of defining going back to that original sort of note, I'll be using that original arpeggio, which is the G major arpeggio. here. Because there's no E in here, I'm going to be putting that down into a D. Here I might want to do a triplet again. Maybe I'll be doing Control 3 and then okay, let's see how that one sounds. Because it's sort of resolving right here, it sounds like a natural sort of end to maybe like part A or maybe the first phrase of the piece. As you can see, it's sort of 1 page long. Let me see. You can also give it a title too. Maybe I'll be calling like usually in my compositions that I create. Oh, by the way, if you want to redo a mistake that you undoed, you can do Control Y to get your change back. Here, I usually name my pieces after like nature sounds like winds and things like that, because this is sort of like emulating a forest where it has like light rain and flowing rivers. Maybe I'll be calling it river. Okay, and then you can name your composer anything you want. You can do your initials. Maybe I'll be doing like JH, like that. Okay, let's try to spice up this composition a little bit more. As you can see, the left hand is always doing arpeggios. A good rule of thumb is to not have that same, what is it called, like that same pattern in left hand over and over again, though it might seem easy and simple. To make your notes more varied, and maybe I'll change the left hand. I already changed the right hand a little bit more. Maybe now we're changing the left hand to sort of match that changes made in the right hand. So left hand changes, actually because this is like a flowing state of theme of the piece, it's kind of hard to just change that rhythm of the left hand because then it's going to disrupt that flow. But what I can do is have more deeper sounds. What I mean is that if you sort of go like in the low register or the high register of the piece, it's going to make it sound more profound, more like cavernous, more deep. So what I can do is I'll be changing that to a deeper G, maybe like a lower G. So I'll be doing Control down to sort of have that deep, passionate sound that you want, kind of like looking down into a cave. As you can see, because that really low G kind of echoes, it sort of creates that little like opening effect, which can make a piece more beautiful than it really is. Because A is the peak, as you can see, it's like building up, and then A is the peak note, the highest note, and then it's going down again. I'll be doing the same for this note right here. I'll be doing a low D. Wow, as you can see, it sounds so much deeper. Same thing here. This B is that peak note, so I'll be changing that to match that most important top note. I'll be changing that to a low G again. Okay, let's see. How can we change that even further? Okay, one cool thing is that you can add multiple instruments to your piece. So here, I usually sort of take a string instrument in this piece because, or any kind of piece that I create using MuseScore, because a string instrument it adds more passion and more, because violins can really have that long note, it's gonna establish that flowing state even more. So I'll be doing edit instruments and adding in a violin. I'll be doing bowed, not plucked, because plucked is kind of like you're doing that staccato short notes with your finger plucking the string. But bow is where you usually you use that what is it called? Oh, you use that bow to just kind of like go right through with the string, which makes it a very long, very passionate sound. So I'll be doing that violin, adding it here. Because violins are string instruments, usually they're at the top, above the piano. Let's play from the beginning to see what needs to be changed, or what we can add for violin. A cool thing is you can, let's see. Okay, I'm gonna go get something. I'll be right back with how to implement more notes in the violin. Okay, so I'm back. Basically, I want to try to put some notes in for violin to match the piano. The cool thing about this is that because of the violin, it's sort of that second melody, because usually in piano, usually the right hand will be the melody, the left hand is the accompaniment. The violin usually serves as a second melodic line. So here I'll be doing a sort of higher line, but sort of matching the piano's right hand. So basically, in the right hand, as you can see, we have the G, F sharp, and the D. So the cool thing about violin is that maybe I can do a third higher, so like a major third interval higher. I'll be doing that. Maybe I'll be doing E, or no, B, and then A, and then G. Okay, it's not perfectly matching. That's because I set it as a half note. I think the cool thing is we can also change it to a quarter note. Because violins, I usually want to have like a longer line. Maybe I'll be doing half notes after this. So first I'll be doing a quarter note, and then having more longer notes after that. Okay, another thing we can do is major 6 as an interval. So the D is sort of 6 intervals above the F sharp. So I'll be doing D for this one. Okay, you know what? I see the opportunity to go even higher. So I'll be doing eighth notes, and then I'm doing this because these 3 notes, because first of all, the E sort of matches the piano's right hand E, and then because this is going down, maybe I'll establish some more variation by making these 2 notes go up. So like F sharp and then G. Again, maybe I'll stick with that major third interval and going with D, because D is 3 intervals above the G. Here I see an opportunity to actually even go, I see like this sort of opportunity to, let me see, kind of make it the violin sort of having shorter notes. Maybe I'll be doing 8 notes. Okay, I'll be making it a higher interval. So B, and I'll be doing control up arrow to having it, to making it like a higher interval, or like an octave higher. Okay, the other cool thing about composing is that sometimes you can put in random notes, or experiment with putting in random notes, and somehow it just sounds perfect. So basically here I see something really cool, is that here I'm doing D, E, F sharp, and then here I'm doing E, F sharp, and then D. So sort of like an echo. So it's like conversation that this is doing like, oh, E, F sharp, and then the right hand of the piano also says E and F sharp, which is pretty cool. And then the other cool thing is that because the piano right hand is sort of going down the scale, the violin is sort of like imitating that, also going down. Sort of like a different thing from what we did last time, where here the violin was going up, the piano was going down. We can have more variation by making this go down as well. So basically in composition, you can literally type in random notes and see how it sounds from there. Here, I'm gonna play the imitation game again. So here, this one is doing E, D, F sharp. I'll be doing that for violin too, but this time making it a beat later. So it's kind of like imitating, but imitating a little bit later. Because the violin usually plays long notes, I'll be extending any note that has like no notes after that. So here, there's no notes after that, so to make it easy on the violin, I'll be extending it so that they can then play vibrato to make it, like hypothetically, they can, in person or maybe like in real life, a violinist can kind of extend that long F sharp and make a vibrato to make it even more beautiful sound. Here, because the piano is doing A, F sharp, maybe I'll be changing it up by doing F sharp A. Let's see how that one sounds. Okay, because I was doing major thirds intervals above the piano's right hand, this time I'm going to be trying to do third intervals below. Because this is G, I'll be doing E, because G is 3 intervals above the E. Okay, I'll be matching that up by doing Okay, I just realized that the C does not really match that bright sort of G major tone of the entire piece, so maybe I'll be changing that C a little bit. So if you want to kind of hear what you should change that C into, change it to a different note, I will be starting from a little bit farther back to try to hear the entire line and see where the next note sort of naturally falls in between. Maybe like a E, even though it's like still an E in the right hand. You can also press the up and down arrow keys on your keyboard to try to change the note to an upper or lower note. Now I'm going to be, because it's sort of concluding that initial phrase, I'll be doing long notes to try to kind of, I think long notes sort of make it a little more, not only does it make it more flowing and lasting longer, it also makes it sort of like, oh, this is signaling the end of the phrase. Again, sort of like every composer has their own feeling of what makes sense. In this case, I'll just be using long notes because it sort of makes sense as it's kind of like a resolving sort of phrase. So I'll be doing B and then G, which is that main note that sort of ends the entire phrase. Okay. What else to add? Let's just play through and see what changes we can make. Oops. I can do Control Z to kind of reverse that change. Okay, that E in a violin might have overstretched a little bit because E and F sharp when played together sort of sound very dissonant, and because this is like a peaceful, non-disturbing sort of piece, I don't want to have any kind of dissonance, so maybe I'll be changing that E or making it shorter. Maybe I'll be doing D. Okay, here I was doing violin imitate piano. Here I might do piano piano imitate violin. So maybe I'll be doing these notes but a little bit earlier. So what I can do is maybe move this D right here and then start that phrase. Okay, not quite. Maybe I'll be Arpeggios. Okay. I'm gonna be changing this to a shorter note. Okay, what I'm doing is sort of having filler notes right here. What I don't like is having the same notes in the end of the phrase, the F sharp and A, because the point of having a different instrument is to have a different sort of melody. So what I'm gonna do is make that maybe like a high D because it has that major six. Basically, the more harmonic intervals are major third, perfect fifth, which is like for example G and D, or having like a major six, I believe, which is like an F sharp in D. So here we're changing that to a high D. Again, having more filler notes because having less empty space makes it sound more, I guess, having more volume in the piece. I think I'll be adding these notes and seeing how it sounds. The reason why I'm doing so sometimes there is not really like a reason why composers put certain notes, but here I'll try to explain why I did that. So let's go from right here. Okay, I think I see why. So basically, the reason why I put these notes highlighted right here, I put it right there because here I'm starting like a downward scale, starting from B and then A, G, and so on. Here I'm doing like a lesser of intensity of a downward scale by starting with A. So it's kind of like a naturally going down scale, but now it's like going down but starting with a lower note. So now I'm doing starting with B and this is starting with A. So like this. This ending sounds a little bit cringy. I'm not sure why, but to make it more like a more serious, profound, calm ending, maybe I'll be doing maybe I'll be doing D C G and no D C B and then going back to a G. The reason why I don't like D E F G like going up all the way, I think that's what it was before. Okay. is because I don't know, it sort of reminds me of like a commercial in the very end. So because this is not really like a funny piece, this is sort of like a serious calm piece. Maybe I'll be doing this to make it sound more profound. A little bit better, I think. Okay. Let's see. To have because in pieces like this calm piece, sometimes you might want to have like a more profound ending. So sometimes in pieces in classical music you might be seeing like really big chords or really long notes. I'll be doing that here too. So maybe if we were hypothetically ending this piece right here, I'll be doing B, if I go here, lower B, and then if you press the shift key, hold it down, you can then create chords. Because it's a profound ending, I'll be doing really low Gs. Maybe like an octave too, to make it adding to the profoundness and making it more like a deeper sound. I'll be doing control and then, or no, that shift key and then press the G. And then usually you want to pedal the ending, so I'll be adding that pedal as well. Okay, it sounds a little bit empty, so I'll be adding that violin too. Also holding the notes as well, so I'll be making it all quarter notes. Oh no, this is actually a whole note. Whole note basically is 4 beats. It takes up the entire measure of a 4x4 or a 4/4 time signature. So this is a whole notes. Let's see how it sounds. Okay, sounds a little bit more profound that way. Let's go through like a last round. I don't know, I see like a natural, again, like natural dotted rhythm right here too. I think I just want to match what the piano right hand is doing. To add more variation, this time I'm going to be leaving it alone. Even though the piano has a dotted rhythm, I'll be continuing with that regular quarter notes right here. I'm doing that because, again, it's sort of like naturally going up, even though the D makes it go down. It's like overall, it's like an upward trend. So I'm trying to give it that extra push to make it go up, like that up direction. So I'll be doing that dotted rhythm for the violin. Here I'll make the piano have a dotted rhythm, even though it's going down, sort of like a little bit of imitation for the violin. The piano is trying to do the dotted rhythm like the violin is doing right here. Okay, it sort of sounds a little bit when the violin has a very high note that's like sort of lasting for a long time, it sounds a little bit a tiny bit irritating to the ear. So maybe I'll be moving that B downwards. So I'll be doing control down arrow. Let's see how that one sounds. Because this piece is again a sort of calm, undisturbed sort of that theme or mood going on. I don't want to have any kind of like too high of notes to make it sound a little bit harsh. I'm trying to establish that peace, establish that sort of like inner calmness, which is why I'm trying to make sure all the notes are comfortable and all pretty calm. I know this workshop is sort of like almost 50 minutes long. If you want to create like a longer composition, it would be taking way longer. For example, sometimes you can take months or even years on a piece. I know that in my compositions, it usually takes me over months to create a full composition that's like maybe around 7 to 8 minutes long. But this piece, because it's sort of like on the spot compositions, of course it takes a little bit of a shorter time, even though it's like 1 page long. So in this last part, I'm just going to be playing through the whole thing again using this play button, and then we'll be ending the workshop from there. Oh yeah, again, if you are a violin or piano player, or if you know if they are piano and violin players, you might have to change the notes because this is sort of like composing without the instrument. So it's sort of like called blind composing because we don't know like which fingerings are best for the violin or piano. Maybe like because if you compose without the instrument, it's like you're not really sure what sort of fingers to use. It might be uncomfortable for the player. So if I were to kind of play this on the piano, I'll be changing the notes a little bit to make it more comfortable to fit the hand, to make it more possible to play on the piano. Same with the violin too. The bowing might not work with like the bow because it goes like left to right or up or down. It might not match the notes. So you might have to change the notes a little bit if you are a violin or piano player. If you're just composing for fun, you don't have to worry about that yet. But if you were to sort of like give this to a orchestra or give it to an instrumentalist, you do have to change the notes and add fingerings too to kind of help them guide where to sort of like place their fingers. I believe there are fingerings in the music score if I could find them. Okay, I believe it's just I think you can just do like three like that for the fingering, but I do think that there is more specifics. If I go to add palettes, maybe there are fingerings there. Oh, there we go. So there is a specific palette for that. So if I go here, oh yeah, there are fingerings for that. So like here, oh, I don't know what happened right here. Oh, because I accidentally changed the key signature. I'll be moving that back. Okay, for example, if this is 2, you can do 2, and so on. Again, you don't have to worry about that if you're trying to give it to an instrumentalist or if you want to play it on this instrument that you're composing for, because you want to make sure that it is suitable for that instrument. Also the thing for the violin is you have to sometimes indicate the bow stroke, like an upstroke or like a downstroke, which I believe there are specific types of I think there are types of lines that are here. For example, if I go interesting. If I go to add palettes again, hopefully there are some. I think it's ornaments. Okay, let's see. No, okay. There are specific symbols like the caret symbol and like the square, sort of like upright or like an upside down bracket to indicate the up or downstroke of the violin. Again, you do have to add that if you were to publish this to an actual like publishing company or trying to give it to an instrumentalist, you do have to indicate those things. But just for fun, this is just like a blind composing piece, improvisation. You don't have to do that right now, especially if you're a beginner. So basically what I'm going to do now is play through the entire piece, and then we're going to be ending the workshop there. Okay, that was the end of the piece. I do notice that we do have to extend the violin in order to, again, make sure that the violin can bow through, the violinist can bow through the entire sort of note, and also it just sounds more profound and flowing if you establish to make sure every note is as long as possible, because again we're trying to simulate a river flowing. So I'll be extending that note because there's an eighth note rest right here. Eighth note rest plus eighth note equals a quarter note. So now I'm going to make this worth the value of a quarter note. Okay, there we go. So if I do this, okay, there we go. And that concludes our workshop. Thank you guys for coming, and I hope that you really enjoyed it.